Jourdan Lewis was the first free agent the Jacksonville Jaguars signed, and it is worth the money 10 times. I'll tell you why in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. That you can find wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you tap into that location each and every day so you do not miss an episode. It's a daily podcast that is supported by the Everydayers, and we thank you, Everydayers, for being here. We don't take your time for granted, and if you're new, I'm glad that you've decided to join us, and hopefully you'll be an Everydayer as well. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Here's what we're going to go through today. I'm going to go from the end to the very, very top because we have our finger on the pulse of the team. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to also give you a little bit of breaking news. It's not really breaking. It's about 12 hours old now about Tank Bixby being traded. But at the end of the show, I'm going to talk about how Josh Allen is just steady Eddie again, man. And we worry about sacks too much. I'll get into that. Newcomers shine for the Jags. And I'm talking about mainly guys that were taken in free agency. This free agency class is a home run. We'll discuss that. We're going to start the show at the very top, though, talking about Jourdan Lewis and how he leads by example. One of the things that I said when I was describing Jourdan Lewis, when I watched his tape after the Cowboys season ended and he was a free agent, and then when the Jaguars went out and gave him a 3-year deal, I think it was around $30 million. I just noticed on tape that he had very, very quick feet. He had very quick ways of diagnosing plays. And one of the things I said is he plays like his feet are on fire and he runs through everything. I mean, he doesn't stop. He doesn't quit. He doesn't give up. There looked like times that he was beating Dallas on stuff over the top and post patterns. And he would just keep running. And as soon as the receiver touched the ball, he got there in the nick of time and he'd knock it out. And we saw that evidence the other day on a little bit of a sort of a rub route where he was in the slot and his guy I think it was Renfro, got outside on a perfectly thrown pass. I know on Twitter, people, some of the couch coaches said the pass rush needs to help him out a little bit. It was a 3-step drop. It was a play by design. The play by design was the quarterback had to get rid of the ball, and he probably knew he was going to get hit, right? Well, what seemed to happen was it looked like he got beat. He kept running. He got through the fact that his guy had gone outside and there was some traffic, and he kept going. And just like the tape from Dallas, it shows him being Johnny on the spot. And as soon as that ball hit Renfro's hand, bang, he delivered a kill shot that knocked the ball loose. And when Foyolu tipped the pass, Johnny on the spot again, always moving his feet, always just finding ways to be active. There's Jourdan Lewis once again, corralling an interception. Then, when there's a fumble on the ground, there's Jourdan Lewis again, right? I'm telling you, the tape showed this, and James Gladstone, when he went out and got Jourdan Lewis, basically said, well, I don't think he said it at the time, but I think he said it since then, that they were always trying to figure out a way to get him in Los Angeles, but he was never available. He was never, ever available. Good on him, man. And you saw this in training camp, and I've seen this from some guys in the past in training camp where they do a lot of hooping and hollering, they're running around and pointing and talking and doing all of these things, and then you come out and they're not good on the field. It's good to know that exactly what you see in practice, what you see in camp, what you saw on tape is exactly what you saw him do for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Remember that saying, and I know y'all remember it because it ain't been too long since it's been said. We need you to come here and be nothing more than yourself. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to team building. You know exactly what you need. You go get it. and you bring him in to do nothing more than be himself. And I always say that's the one thing you need to be an expert at. It's being you, right? So you should be, because that's what you are 24 hours a day, and nobody knows more about you than yourself. So the thing is you also have to give credit to James Gladstone, because he knew what he was buying. And I hate to use the word buying when it comes to players, but we're talking about in the vernacular of a GM going out and shopping for players and giving money and enticing people to come here and exert their superpower. Just let that go, right? Let that rip. He knew exactly who he was. He didn't ask him to come in here and do things that you hadn't seen him do. They didn't switch his position. No, they identified that ingredient that they needed to put in their pot of chili. That's always the analogy that I use, was going to come here and be exactly what they saw. And that was good enough. You don't need to be more. We definitely don't want you to be less. But we have to also put you in a position. And this is where I talk about looking at talent and going out and procuring talent. It ain't always just about going out and getting the most talented player. It's not always about going out and finding raising the roof of the team just based on talent alone, and then a guy isn't a fit. Everything about his makeup is exactly what the Jacksonville Jaguars have needed. Now, they've had Jourdan Lewis like people, whether you want to go back to Tashawn Gibson or Barry Church, a little bit of Dewey sprinkled here, a little bit of A.J. Bouye because he is a corner as well as a slot. They've had it, but it was almost like they were piecing it together with a bunch of different folks. Jourdan Lewis is a one-stop shop of exactly what that secondary needs. He's a very, very good signing for the Jaguars. When you talk about culture, you don't chase culture by getting people to come in and be a certain way. You chase culture by bringing in people and allowing them to be who they are and what they are, and the culture is built around them. Like, I think Lil Duval put something on social media today where he said, y'all bending what you do, and I'm going to paraphrase, you bending what you do for the algorithm, when really the algorithm is already bending itself to match your vibe. So why are you, it's like you're chasing the wrong thing. Just come in and be yourself and let everything work for the greater good. Now, we'll talk about other newcomers that shine for the Jaguars, but we have to first mention something that happened last night. I did a little bit of a social media post. Tank Bixby was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, running back Tank Bixby, for a 5th and 6th round pick in the 2026 draft. That means the Jaguars have a 5th, 6th, and a 7th round pick from the Philadelphia Eagles for them to be able to move up. I think somebody said that 5th round pick is a conditional pick that could become a 4th because of a trade that the Eagles made with the 49ers. But at the very least, it's going to be the 49ers pick, and they got a bunch of injuries concerned. So that means that pick, at the very least, could be a high 5th round pick, which easily can be turned into a 4th round pick. And you see what he can do with late round picks. One of the reasons that Tank Bixby was let go is because of Bashaw Tutin, who was a 4th round pick, and because of LaQuint Allen, who was a 7th round pick. So now you got players that not only are players that you chose, but they're players that you chose with the hopes that they could come in and make a contribution, and they've done that. So those picks are a little bit higher. And plus, you still got Travis Etienne, who had one of the best games he's ever had as a pro just the other day. So good luck to Tank Bixby. He played here, always had a lot of class, always was very approachable. We'll root for him as he moves forward, but it's all about the Jaguars here. So we're going to talk about some more of those newcomers for the Jaguars that are making a significant impact, guys that they went out and got in free agency. We'll go right to that offensive line, and we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show sponsored and brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your order. That's supplyhouse.com. Promo code SHNFL5 for $5 off your first order. Real people and real service. Today's show is also sponsored and brought to you by Game Time. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to us fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. And I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, man, rolling along here, looking at the Jaguars free agency class, and man, so far so good. I mean, it's one of those things where you say, okay, well, you knew they were going to give these guys, the chance to be good, right? Because they signed them. So, of course, they're going to give them the chance to be good. Well, no, those guys, yeah, they signed the guys and they were going to give them a chance to be good. But here's the beauty of it. You got to actually prove it, right? You have to actually prove it on the football field when you get an opportunity. And that's exactly what the Jacksonville Jaguars did. They proved it. They really, really invested a lot on the offensive line. I have seen cut-ups and tape and all 22 of the offensive line. And all I see is Robert Hainsey and Patrick McCary clearing room out and keeping Trevor Lawrence clean and also for Travis Etienne to have the game of his life. I saw Diami Brown catch big passes to get good yards on first and second down, and even a couple of third down opportunities, one right in the middle of the field late in the game as the Jaguars were driving and milking that clock. So he's been very, very good. Chuma Edoga, he kept showing up as eligible. When the referee was announcing an eligible offensive lineman was in, it was always him. And we'll see. We found out that Anton Harrison's back was a little sort of spasms and a little tightness. We'll monitor and watch that, because back injuries, that tightness in back and all that twitching, it doesn't happen for no reason. But we'll watch it. Hopefully he'll be available. But we're confident in Chuma Edoga because of his experience, and that's something else. We just mentioned Jourdan Lewis. Jourdan Lewis is a big-time player, man. Hunter Long caught his first touchdown here in Jacksonville. Ain't that something? You get signed as a free agent. You're part of the depth. They let go of people like Evan Ingram, who were fan favorites. Hunter Long was a part of the Jalen Ramsey trade when he came from Miami to the Rams. He hadn't done much at all. In fact, in 4 NFL seasons, he only caught 7 passes for 60 yards. But this is the scouting part of it. This is where James Gladstone knows you, watches you, has seen your work, has a book on you. And both Hunter Long and Diami Brown are now playing maybe the best football, at least through 1 week, that we've seen. Those guys haven't been that productive, although Diami had a real good close to 2024. This is a big start to 2025. Nick Mullins, of course, is just backup quarterback, and I don't mean to diminish him, but if we see Nick Mullins, we got some serious problems. I want to talk about Eric Murray. Eric Murray, man, laid the boomstick from, I don't know if it's a single high, but he was the dude on this particular play that was back deep, and he lowered the boom on somebody that came over the middle on a critical down and got his hands on balls, got his hands on some footballs. You got to say pause with everything around here, right? So you saw the activity that he has too, the technique, the feet. And when they signed him, I said, that's like signing another safety version of Jourdan Lewis, because they both, once again, played all the way through the whistle and became Johnny on the spot. They re-signed Cole Van Lannon, so I won't really necessarily discuss that. But those are the guys that the Jaguars went out and bought in, man. Robert Hainsey, Pat McCary, unheralded. You look up and you go, okay, this guy's all right, that guy's all right. This regime teaches you and teaches all of us to not be a name chaser. We were just talking about chasing algorithms, right? It's the same thing when it comes to free agency. Everybody wants to chase names instead of trusting that these guys are really, really doing scouting. It is almost like James Gladstone went and said, okay, I've evaluated the roster. I know where we're weak. Turns and looks at Liam Cohen and goes and Anthony Campanile and say, hey, okay, what do you guys assess that we need? And it all lined up, and he said, let's go get that, right? But we got this much money to shop with, and I believe we can get it done with this instead of going out here and doing that. I'll give you a perfect example. Robert Dahlman. I was all about Robert Dahlman, man, when he was a free agent, because I was just sitting there like, he's the only real center on this list that has started a bunch of games and is the right age. And yeah, he struggled for the Bears last night, right? You had people from the Bears and folks from Atlanta where he used to play. They wasn't surprised. It was like, look, I'm glad he's gone. They're going to get that kid killed up in Chicago, right? But then Robert Hainsey, there were so many people that said, well, he lost his job. Liam Cohen was on that staff. If he went and got him, it's more too, well, he got beat out by, okay, so they decided that a first-round pick in Graham Barton was going to play early, and figured that with their structure and their situation, look, he's our center of the future. Let's just see if he can do it now. If he can't, we'll move. And he was able to hold up. Whoopie-doo, a first-round pick was able to be good enough for a team that went to the playoffs, and they decided, we'll just roll with this. And it worked for them, but it also worked for Robert Hainsey, because Liam Cohen said, yeah, he's good enough to play for me. I was there last year. He's an upgrade. He can do what I need him to do. He can get us in the right spots, and he does. Robert Hainsey does exactly that. So I had to give kudos to the offensive line. Kudos so far to all of the players that were added and some incumbent players that are still doing what they always do, but they don't get a lot of credit for it. We're going to mention some of them. Mainly Josh Hines-Allen, who once again was a pressure machine the other day in the game against Carolina. We'll discuss that more in just a second here on the third and final segment of Locked On Jaguars. All right, y'all, it's all about FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for football and ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I'm telling you, man, I love FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet, and if you win, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. All right, moving right along, and we're going to talk about some incumbents, not the new guys, but guys that have been on this team and sometimes get overlooked because of the things that they do. We're going to start right now with Josh Hines-Allen. Josh Hines-Allen played well again the other day. It was only one sack recorded, and that was by Fred Smooth, right? So it wasn't Josh. It wasn't Trayvon. Doesn't mean they didn't play well. Does not. In fact, Josh Allen, I think, was credited with somewhere between 4 and 6 pressures, forcing the quarterback out of the pocket. We saw Trayvon get there a few times and just get nudged just a little bit, and Bryce Young was able to move. And I'm encouraged because everyone won't be able to move in the pocket and get away like the little Bryce Young. Bryce Young is like a slot receiver playing quarterback, right? So he can kind of get away from some things. I am not concerned about the pass rush one bit. Nope. I just want them to be able to stop the run. And one of the reasons I'm not concerned is because Josh Allen is going to find a way to make the quarterback uncomfortable. And Trayvon is always lurking and always coming, especially on those twists and stunts. And he is one guy that usually, because of the way he played at Georgia, where they play a lot of gap and hole, he's one dude that usually will not let you get away with scrambling, right? So, and if you do have to get around him, you're going to have to go a long way. And that creates other situations in the defensive backfields and allows the defensive backs to be able to adjust. Not everything is always about sacks, although folks will point to that a whole bunch. It's about winning. Nobody cares that they had 1 sack the other day because they won the game. You can have 5 sacks and lose the game, and then people will still say it wasn't enough. Like Kendrick Lamar, it's not enough. So I'm going to give Josh his credit when credit is due. Pressure is a real thing. In fact, you hear a lot of coaches, while they say, yes, sacks are important because it means you finish the play and get the guy on the ground, but pressures are just as important. And I think they would really, it sounds like it's cliche, but I really do believe people devalue pressure and devalue what it means when you force a quarterback to have to throw the ball before that receiver gets out of that break, or throw it and try to anticipate where he's going to be. You end up with incompletions, you end up with tip balls, you end up with a lot of things. So it's more than just sacks. Pressures also matter. So we'll give Josh Allen his due for that. I'm going to give a shout out to Brenton Strange too. He is a good pass catcher. He's a great blocker. Brenton Strange knocked somebody into next week on a running play and somebody else on a blitz. I call him baby George Kittle. He's number 85, just like Kittle, and he's doing George Kittle-like things. He ain't quite George Kittle, but that's the kind of player he is. So when you start identifying what kind of tight end he is, this is the dude I love. I love a complete tight end. I love a dude where you don't know if he's a blocker, you don't know if he's a pass catcher, because now that makes it very, very difficult for you to substitute around him. Because if Evan Ingram's in the game, you're going to put an extra DB in. If you get a big old blocking tight end and it can't catch Cole, you just put a Sam linebacker in, or you'll load it with a big nickel. Now you don't know what to do. And I think having that versatility in your repertoire, if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, it's just like playing poker, man. It's like the less tells you have that allow people to read what you're going to do, the more you put them on skates and they don't know what to do. And then you make them play everything and make them keep honest. And then you make them have to trust their eyes. And when they have to trust their eyes, that's when you can trick them and fool them a little bit. So you don't trick and fool people pre-snap. You trick and fool people, but mainly with the versatility of your team, and you make them play honestly. And Brenton Strange is a huge, huge part of that. Walker Little, I think it was 1 penalty, but for the most part played well. They kept Trevor Lawrence clean. The Jaguars did not give up a sack. It was the first time, I believe, in the last 5 years they did not give up a sack on opening day. That's a good thing. Tempered a little bit by the fact that Carolina ain't necessarily got a team full of pass rushers either, but we'll take it, because in the past there have been teams that didn't have a team full of pass rushers that found their elixir. And that's another thing I want to get to. Here on Locked On Jaguars, folks have heard me say this, and even folks heard me say this when I used to do radio 6, 7, 8 years ago. The Jaguars had a tendency to become the antibiotic, the elixir, or the vaccine for whatever was ailing other teams. Carolina has obviously some warts, some open sores, or whatever you want to call them, the ingrown toenails and all. They didn't come here and get fixed. And I think that's a very, very critical thing. The fact that the Jaguars did not allow a team that was sick to use Everbank Field as some sort of emergency room or some rapid care place, to come in here and get an IV and all of a sudden walk out feeling better. No, they left here with a worse headache than they had when they came here. When it comes to football, if somebody's sick, then if he dies, he dies. That's just not literally, but you know what I mean. Too many times the Jaguars were the help center, the get well place for teams that came in here that were bad. So while I think Carolina's improved in the second year of their rebuild, I still believe that they have a lot of holes on their roster. But in the past, that did not stop the Jacksonville Jaguars from allowing teams to come in here and leave feeling good about themselves. And I think Carolina left here feeling worse. And that's the goal. The goal is you got to be who you are, man. And more importantly, you got to make sure that whoever your opponent is, that you let them know that's exactly what they are. You want to hold that mirror up to their face. And you know how you do it? Blocking, tackling, execution, being the more physical football team. Because you are the most physical football team. It doesn't matter what it says on paper. Yeah, you're better, you're faster, you're big. If you don't go out and do it, then those adjectives and all of those descriptions, they mean absolutely nothing. So it's only 1 week, and we're on to Cincinnati. But at least for this week, the Jaguars were who they are supposed to be, and they showed the Carolina Panthers that they are who they're supposed to be. And all is right in the football universe. And that's the way it is supposed to be. All right, man. Now that y'all heard me do my spiel and all of this rhyming and reason and all of that, I do have another show. It's called Locked On NFL. It's the barbershop. It comes on every single afternoon. But preceding that, every morning, Tyler Madman, Tyler the Madman Rowland, Locked On Titans Tyler. Well, you don't see him in that light on this show. You see Locked On Titans, Tic Tac Titans. You see him as the Madman in an NFL show, unbiased. That's my boy. That's my brother. We're on twice a day, man. Make sure you go check both of us out because we use the help of local experts from around the National Football League, local experts from around the Locked On Podcast Network to help us make that show what it is and make you a smarter fan. So check out Locked On NFL wherever you get your podcast. All right, man. It's on to Cincinnati. We'll have a show tomorrow talking about what the Jaguars have to do this week. Then don't miss our Thursday crossover. We'll have that. It's sponsored by Prize Picks before we get you primed and ready for the weekend to go up to Cincinnati, and hopefully the Jaguars can be 2-0. All right, man. Y'all take care. Thanks for joining me and spending 27 and a half minutes with me. Today, I don't take it for granted, and I hope you don't either. Appreciate you.